both of us blew our horns out.
Well, when we were walking over the weekend at the corner of Merchant and Indiana, kid came up on the bike and just went right through the intersection, and, you know, two cars had to slam on their brakes.
A little bit, I wasn't, yeah, for the,
We had license plates when we were kids for your bike.
And we had a little camp, we'll discuss this here.
But we also had Safety Town. You remember Safety Town?
You know, yeah, there's a party when I was.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
doesn't show up, yeah.
It's 6:30, May 18th. We'll call the Legislation, Codes, and Regulations meeting to order. Clerk, would you take roll, please?
Mr. R. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Kreider?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Here.
We have a summary of proceedings. Everybody looked that over?
Yes, and I don't think I saw him.
I didn't think it. No,
I didn't find anything.
I didn't find anything, so.
I'll make a motion to accept.
And I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, would you call for the vote, please?
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Kreider?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
One item of old business tonight. Clerk, would you read that, please?
Ordinance amending Marion Codified Ordinance Title III Legislative Chapter 111, Council Section 111.04 Duties, Privileges, and Decorum of Members, 111.04G, Rule 27 of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Marion.
Okay, don't know if you guys have any questions, but I have a few.
Okay.
I want to clear up some things that I'm misunderstanding on this. The first question I have is in Section 1, under Title 3, and it says, "No member shall be allowed to speak for a longer term." What member are we talking about? Are we talking about council? Are we talking about administration? Are we talking about everybody, or whatever?
I took that as council member myself, but it kind of piggybacks onto a later question that I do have, so, but that would be,
Yeah, I think
it
it should be changed to council member to clear it
well, it
up.
has permission of, because it has permission of council, then every other member,
Yeah, and that's what I couldn't understand.
Oh,
is
yeah.
If it was a council member, why would they need permission from council unless you take a vote?
Well, because that's how the rule was originally written. Council members could speak for 10 minutes on any one subject during that discussion and couldn't speak again until everyone else had had a chance.
Okay.
And you didn't get longer than 10 minutes unless the council voted to grant you more
Okay.
than that.
Okay.
Okay, then the next thing that I had here is, I assume that this says after processing the minutes, or once the minutes have been taken care of, then can open it up for discussion. How will that time be recorded or controlled? If you're going to have 3 minutes, is somebody going to have a stopwatch?
Yes.
How are we
Exactly.
going to do that?
I have no answer to that. That's,
We get an egg timer.
Yeah, the answer would be the person that's in charge of the meeting. So in this instance, as a chairperson of the committee, you would be in charge of controlling the time. And at council, it would be the president.
Okay.
I know some councils actually have a timer.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering, because a timer would take the guesswork out of it. You wouldn't
Make
say,
it-
hey, you gave him 50 seconds. and they got
30-second
them.
warning or something that you'd have.
Yeah.
And then, well, I don't know if you could, would you be able to yield any time back like they do in Congress, for example? If you only spoke up for a minute and a half, would you be have the opportunity to
Hey,
speak for
I
another?
don't see any mention of that in here.
Yeah, my questions were, as far as, that was the time allotment, exactly the timing, but, did you have any other things?
Yeah, I had a couple others.
Sure, go ahead, go ahead, 'cause I mean-
On the second page there, said let me see where it says. Presiding officer may recognize pursuant to Rule 68 members of the public once council has read and considered said ordinance resolution for up to 2 minutes. I don't understand what's the 2 minutes apply to? Does that apply to the audience, somebody making a response to it, or what? And if so, why 2 and not 3 like the rest of them?
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may. So, I collected from various sources, meaning other councils, council rules, and actually had some input from an attorney in Columbus that we have some engagement with, not specifically on this, who is really advanced as far as researching public speaking, because it is a hot topic across the country. And this structure came out of another council ordinance, and I thought about it too. When I first wrote it, I put a 3 instead of the 2 here. But you have 3 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, after the minutes have been acted upon, that a person wants to share a comment regarding an agenda item in advance. The president would afford them the first 3-minute segment. Then you get past that. The 2 minutes is really about the legislative business, the agenda. So it's at the discretion of the president. That's Rule 68, already exists. The president has control over people coming to they call it the bar, coming to the bar and speaking to the council. And it's 2 minutes because it would be an opportunity during council's discussion of the agenda items and affording the constituents an opportunity to be heard. And so it's shortened because you're in the business of the council. So you got 3 minutes before you get into the business, 3 minutes at the end on any subject that wasn't on the agenda. Then during the business of the council, it's a shorter period of time because the intent is to move forward and continue moving forward. That's why it's 2 instead of 3.
Okay, so if I'm understanding right, like we have new business item number 3 and we do that at council, and then somebody wants to add to that, they can step up for 2 minutes,
For
right?
2 minutes, yeah.
Makes sense.
It's 2 minutes instead of 3, just to keep things moving.
Okay.
But you'd be allotted to go on further, given who's ever the chair of the, to finish up a thought or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think the president or the chairperson would have.
Absolutely, the
Yeah,
chairperson and the president of council and council meeting are the meeting authorities, the person in charge pursuant to existing rules.
Okay. Another question I had, it says, all matters not on the agenda shall wait until that portion of the agenda designated for public comment. But we also have matters not on the agenda.
That's specifically for administration and council.
Okay, so matters not on the agenda is for,
Administration and council.
okay, so
And
we've
then
kind
public
of
comments are at the end.
been doing that wrong then, right? Because we allow people to come up on matters not on the agenda.
Not recently, we haven't,
Well-
since that rule changed last year.
Well, it would be like, that's what, kind of, and with regard here, as what's being said is, if it's matters not on the agenda, people would come up, if it's like if it's a streets and sewer committee, it would have to still be not on the agenda, but have to be related to streets and sewers. That's, so, and then, or, I've seen corrections, well, referral to this committee and so forth. That's what I don't think it was worded really that clearly
Right.
on that, so, to me, it was.
Yeah, because I figured public comment would be on anything.
Right.
But matters not on the agenda would have to pertain to the committee or something that's not on the agenda. I kind of see those two as one and the same, really.
Well, in a committee meeting, there's just matters not on the agenda. In the actual council agenda, there's matters not on the agenda, and then after the committee committee reports are, public comments.
And because in a council meeting, you have the breadth of all of our committees together, and so, yeah.
Okay.
And I guess just for clarification, when the agenda items were being redone here a couple of years ago, I kind of recommended that a specific spot for public comment be put at the bottom, so that, if we went into an executive session, we weren't missing out on the public's opportunity to speak to us about stuff.
Okay, and then one final question that I had on that was, at the end there, it says, as to each of the 3 designated periods above, once a citizen has commented, they may not speak again without the consent of the council. To me, that means that city council would have to vote to allow somebody to speak the second time, and I don't think that's what's meant there, or it shouldn't be. I think it would be the president or the chairperson.
Person, yeah.
So, can we change that word?
It's up to you guys.
Yeah,
So change it from council to presiding officer.
right, sounds good. That's all the questions I had, if you had some.
No, that, I interjected with mine, so.
Okay.
Anyone have anything else? Yeah. Anybody from the audience? Yes, Mr. Rollins.
Aaron Rollins, City Council at Large, 881 East Church Street. So as you guys have learned tonight, there are already rules on the books that govern decorum, the length of time that the public can speak. As I publicly stated, adding additional rules and constraints to speech is only going to be as good as the presiding officer, as you just called it. I've been to council meetings where there was a stern president of council who made no bones about it. He had control of the meetings. There was one time he interjected to actually throw a council member who was unruly out of a council meeting. So we need to maybe pump the brakes on this one a little bit. I think we're suppressing a lot of speech for the sake of I'm not sure what. But as you've learned tonight, there are already rules on the books. We just need to enforce them as a council. So we need to do a better job as a chairman, and we need to do a better job as a president of council enforcing those rules. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron, I'd like to reply to that.
Yeah.
The current ordinance that governs the conduct in council was written in 1968 and does not allow for any public comments at all. So we're trying to fix that so that
What's wrong with the way that
we're not operating, currently at council meetings, we are not operating according to the ordinance that is on the books.
So let's mimic what we're currently doing and what's worked for the last 10 or 15 years. Why are we trying to change it now?
Well, I really don't see a lot of
meetings for
difference.
years, and I've never heard this as a problem until now. Why? What problem are we trying to solve? I'm not sure I understand.
Mainly it's the noise from the back of the room.
Then we need a stern president and a stern chairman to gavel it and have them thrown out of here. It's that simple.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lepke?
Chris Lepke, 555 Normandy Drive. I have the same overall concern as Mr. Rollins. I don't come to every city council meeting, but I come to a lot, and I've been coming to a lot of them on and off for about the past 5 years. And I haven't noticed a continual basis where there's been 2 hours of public comments that we can't get through. So again, I don't know what the problem is that we're trying to solve, but I also think that the legislation that you're looking at is going to add more confusion than anything else. As I look at section 2, G2, I think it is, it says members of the public may be recognized by the presiding officer. So right there, that raises concern with the word may, because does that then mean the presiding officer, which I know is what Rule 68 also says, because I went and read Rule 68, is it gives the presiding officer a lot of control to say, I like what that person's going to say. I don't like what that, because of the word may as opposed to the word shall. If somebody is a citizen and they're raising their hand to speak and we allow public comment, it shouldn't be may, it should be shall. I also think the grammar of that whole section 2, when I read it, it made it sound to me like that the public couldn't comment until after each action item and the parts of the item that came up that are going to be in the minutes were completed. So you had the ordinance, all the discussion, debate, action, the minutes were now done, taken, then the public could speak. And that's not how Mark Russell just explained it, so it sounds much better, but my concern would be is if we write legislation now that is confusing, in 10 years, will somebody interpret it differently and follow it differently? So I would suggest that we really make that easier. And also, you're adding the 3 minutes before the agenda items, so you've just added a problem, right, that you didn't already have. And if you feel like that's an important time to let people speak, why not make that 2 minutes? and let the 3 minutes be during the actual discussion and debate. But I don't think this is the right piece of legislation, and I don't know that there's a problem that needs to be solved. The other question I think that's confusing in this legislation is, you were asking about as to each of the 3 designated periods, someone can only speak once, right? Is that within each period, or is that collectively among all 3 periods that they can only speak once? Again, I think it's really hard to interpret, and you're interpreting one way, but once this passes, that's on, will in 10 years, 5 years, it be interpreted differently. So I agree with Ms. Rollins. I don't think this is necessary. If you feel like it's necessary, I don't think this is the right legislation.
And just to comment, I had that discussion with you, like, even though Columbus is bigger, you have to sign ahead of time, and you can only speak once. Yeah, they're a bigger.
They might have 10,000 people.
Yeah, but exactly, and that's exactly right, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. I can't see you from the podium.
Ashton Seals, 1920 Victory Road, Lot 165. So basically, I understand the need for order and civility in public meetings because respectful conduct matters, but there is an important difference between maintaining order and limiting the ability of residents to openly express concerns about the actions and future legislation of this council. Public comment is one of the very few opportunities citizens have to directly address their elected representatives for any kind of public setting. It is meant to be open, fair, transparent, and accessible. It exists to foster trust between city council members and the people they were elected to serve. Restricting that opportunity damages that trust. When Benjamin Franklin was asked what kind of government had been created, he famously replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." Keeping it does not mean protecting those in power from criticism or discomfort. It means preserving the public's right to speak freely, challenge decisions, and hold the government accountable. Public meetings are not performances, and they are not ceremonies. They are one of the last direct forums where ordinary citizens can face their government and be heard. If decorum rules are used not simply to maintain order, but discourage criticism, limit dissent, or silence passionate concerns, they are no longer strengthening public participation, they are narrowing it. What makes this amendment especially troubling is the timing. At the same time the council seeks longer 4-year terms instead of the current 2-year terms, it is also considering limiting the speech of the very people you are being paid to represent. That sends the wrong message to the residents of Marion. Longer terms means less frequent accountability at the ballot box. Restricting comment means less accountability in this chamber. Taken together, many residents will understandably see this as an attempt to create more distance between elected officials and the public. I would caution this council, if residents fear their voices are being restricted here, their concerns will not simply disappear. Frustration does not go away when people are silenced. It grows. People will find other ways to make their voices heard. That may include organizing outside of this chamber, increasing public pressure, and ultimately re-electing an entirely new city council when each of you comes up for re-election. It is far better for everyone involved that citizens be allowed to speak openly and constructively here in public forum where transparency exists and where government accountability belongs. Please ensure that any adjustments made to the decorum rules protects both civility and the fundamental freedoms that define representative government. The role of this council is not only to govern, but to remain accountable to the people of Marion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to respond to that. I don't think it's the intent of anybody on this committee or in council or the administration to restrict freedom of speech. I will sit here all night long and call on people as long as there's a hand up. I think really what we're trying to accomplish is to put a little order into it, because you can't have people jumping up and running to the podium and somebody else in the back of the room doesn't get a chance to talk. And so, but again, I don't think we can legislate that. I think that has to be done from the chair or from the president's chair.
I agree with the people
Yeah.
that this is not the legislation.
But I do not want to limit anybody's freedom of speech. The time limit, I agree with, because you have to give other people a chance. So if you're talking for 10 minutes or 15 minutes up here, somebody who wanted to speak might get up and walk out because they're tired of listening. So if we can cut it down, and if you talk and you sit down at 3 minutes and nobody else wants to raise your hand, and you raise your hand again, I'll call on you every time. So we don't want to restrict anybody.
I just think it's an odd time to be putting forth something that is this much rigid to it when we have not had that before. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Phil Kelly, 365 East Farming. With all the, off and on, over all the years that I've attended city council, the only place I really see a need for this is in public comments and limiting the time frame for somebody. Because we've had people that have come up here and have argued and carried on and gone on, and I can do the same thing right now, and go on and on and on and on. I say the same thing over and over and over. And it's, you question why they're allowed to continue talking. That's the only thing I can see that's really needed. And even if you make it like 5 minutes, so there's plenty of ample time for somebody to bring up their point. And then if they have another point, let everybody else have a turn and let them come back up again. But not on the same topic, please.
I'd like to respond. I think really, I just think that there just needs to be a little bit more structure, not only in a written form, but just as we have public comment, the section, just have the presiding officer remind people, just, you can come up, and just a general reminder, and I think that's going to be, you have that long to speak and so forth, and just the
Right.
structure, just as that, and I think that might help, because you've seen where groups of people, they've come together, but they've had a spokesperson and so
Yes,
forth.
and that works out real well.
That really does, because, or if you're talking about something and you agree with somebody else who's spoken before you, I concur with this person, and they'll go on with their other items and so forth.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of pay attention, be reminded, and
There's some people,
well,
you would probably remember some of Mr. Russell, that would go on and on and on.
You said you weren't gonna do that tonight.
Oh, I haven't gone on near as much as they have.
And I,
Right,
and
thank
I
you.
think too that's not something that we can legislate on paper. It's something that has to be done from the chair.
yeah,
True.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, Ms. Mayor.
Kimberly Mayor, 890 Gephardt Street. I just want to say I concur with almost everything everybody said here tonight. You all just need to take everything they said and put quotes on it and print it and put it up and read it tonight. Then tomorrow when you get up, the next day. Because I've only been coming up here since November, and I feel like I'm probably part of the reason that you feel like you need rules. Well, I'm sorry if my pushback causes you problems, because I ain't going nowhere. Okay? You're trying to limit the Constitution, and I'm not going to have it. I will do whatever it is I have to do to make sure you all uphold to it, and you're not doing a very good job right now. You're not. Now, when it comes down to it, because you keep wanting to put your laws and ordinances over the Constitution. And that's where you're getting things wrong. So if I need to raise my voice, I will. Because that's the only thing I do. I'm not a violent person. I don't go around causing people harm. But if I feel like I need my attention, I will get louder. So if you try to silence me, it's just going to get louder. Okay? Whether it be in this room or being called out on social media, you're not going to distract what we have to say. And that's what I feel like you're doing. Me and another person likes to talk about the Constitution, and I know y'all don't really like it, even though y'all swear to it. Y'all swear to it. And that's why you guys are trying to do this ordinances and stuff, because we're pushing back with the Constitution, so you need to make sure you have an ordinance that. So get it buttoned up, get the right ordinance.
Hold on, are you directing that towards me?
I did, because you're the one that's directing.
Hold on, then let's clarify something, okay?
I
I
did
think it's
direct
great
that.
when you share your thoughts, and I think
Because
it's.
you're the one that drew.
No, hold on.
You're the one that hold on. You're the one that drew this up. Did you not? Did you not draw this up?
Okay,
Did you not, sir?
Is this my time to respond?
Well,
Okay.
the question is I addressed it to you because you were the one that did it,
Okay.
correct?
Let me respond. As I started this evening, I shared that this is a collection of ordinances that have been adopted by councils throughout Ohio, because I didn't share this, but I did that at a request of several council people who wanted to try to add structure to the meetings, to make them more businesslike and to proceed a little bit more procedural. And I think there's been a lot of good comments, and I appreciate your comments. But if you really study this, there is no law in the state of Ohio or a constitutional right for a citizen to come to the podium and have a right to speak at a meeting in Ohio. And I'm just sharing that because that's the law. What we're doing is hold on, I'm not done. We're trying to provide structure so that a person that comes to a meeting can see in the rules, they'll have the opportunity to speak. And is this right? No, it should be repaired. The grammar should be fixed. But reading it, let's say it was 3, 3, and 3. That's 9 minutes of time. If a person attends a meeting and speaks for 9 minutes, that would be a long period compared to how many people speak at our meetings. They're able to share their point in a very condensed speech or presentation. So I welcome your comments, but I just wanted to make clear, there is no constitutional right in the state of Ohio for a citizen to speak during the meeting. But we're trying to put it into the rules to ensure that there's clarity. So yes, I did compose it at the request of council people. So I'd be happy to answer other questions you have.
I'm all for it. I know I seem like a little smart ass. It's because that's just how I am. All right? The thing is you limiting what we have to say is just going to make us upset. And the fact that you're going to sit there and reduce the time for after you guys have made rules and before we can interject, because sometimes somebody might have said something that somebody else wants to comment. So I can see why you might want to go up the second time or whatever. But, sometimes it's called a rebuttal, it's called a conversation. And when you limit that, that's when you get attitude. When you don't limit that, you get not attitude.
Okay, can I say something? We don't want to limit what you have to say. Give me a chance now. We don't want to limit what you have to say, but we do want to limit the amount of time you take to say it. And if it takes you 2 or 3 trips to say what you want to say, that's fine, but we have to give everybody the opportunity, equal to you.
Fine. We don't even get very many people come up here to talk. People sit there and talk about the same people getting up here. It's the same people that come to the room.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh,
And they have every right.
If other people come, you guys have to listen. If everyone wants to talk 3 minutes, let them talk for 3 minutes.
Exactly.
We only get to see you guys once a week.
That's what we're saying. That we want
So
them to talk.
limiting it is not good, especially when we're $9 million in debt, which is why I'm here. If y'all wasn't $9 million in debt, you'd have never seen me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's hope it never comes to that. Anybody else have anything?
So we'll leave this in committee for third reading.
Third reading, okay. Okay, the next item on our agenda, new business, item 2. Clerk, would you read that, please?
Discussion regarding governing e-bikes, scooters, and other small vehicles.
Okay, this is going to be maybe a confusing one, but I think most of it's code already, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. It is, and it is not easy to read. So anybody that looked at this in advance, it's not easy. But what you have is, in essence, is throughout Ohio, communities have struggled with the technology advances in regards to scooters, skateboards that'll go 100 miles an hour, all kinds of technology. These are the controls that are available, the structure available to Ohio communities to regulate. And so it's all there, mainly informational, to show you how communities can control the things we're talking about. And it does it in two parts. The first part of this, and you're right, Mr. Chairman, it is kind of basically structured like the ordinance, but it has a lot of refinement, modification to go, but it has the content upon it. The first part is there are some new definitions that are necessary to be placed in our code. And then the second part, towards the end, are really the control sections of, well, they're really, some of them are existing code, and I've noted where it's an existing code that may be being modified, and some of it is a brand-new section that's been borrowed from another community that's put it in place and it's been tested to be, meaning it's tested and it's a proper regulation or control. So,
Good, thank you. That clears up a few things. I do have a couple of questions, and I'm sure that this is not the final version as far as going to press. But under 301.205, a letter A typo. Also, section A is in here twice, once at the bottom of page 1 and once at the top of page 2. Class 1 and Class 3, I think, are basically the same thing except for the limit of speed.
Yeah.
One's at 20 mile per hour, and the other one's at 28 miles per hour, and it means that you have to pedal it in order to do it up to that speed.
This might be helpful for me to interject at this point.
Sure.
That's what the state legislature put in there. So for some reason, their professionals and experts said you have to break it down. So we're just borrowing what they put in place to be consistent, number one, so it's uniform throughout Ohio. And then you're right, it's just that speed distinction, but I had to read it a couple times to understand. But I would recommend we keep it as it is because that's how it reads in the ORC right now.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to go against the ORC. The only difference I see in number 2 is the speed and the fact that you don't have to pedal to get it to accelerate. You can go from the start.
Right.
So basically, those 3 classes of electric bicycle are based on speed and pedaling. Another question I had was on low-speed micro-mobility device, and I think this is probably answered in the code. That would not include, like my wife has a scooter that she rides. Would that include that? Or?
It actually is, and I put it in this content for us to have a discussion because even, if we look closely, I'm not sure there's any real specific controls but for that particular type of device, but that device exists, it's recognized throughout Ohio, and we needed to get the definition in there so we could take the next step if we ever have the need to put a regulation in place to control those scooters. So it's just putting a definition in place. It doesn't have a control in place over those scooters yet, but the definition's not going anywhere. It's one of those technological advances, and the state legislature said, we're going to call them mini mobile devices. So we just put it in our code.
Yeah, because I have seen those, some on the street,
Yeah.
and some on the sidewalk, so I'm not sure.
So you're talking about the motorized, like wheelchairs?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if you read this, it says, has handlebars. That has less than 100 pounds and has handlebars. Well, those
Yeah,
scooters
those.
don't have handlebars, they've got,
No, they've got,
oh, do they?
my wife
Oh,
has one.
so
She drives
some
it.
of them do.
That
Okay.
suite, yeah.
Yeah.
I see the ones that are
So,
hand controlled.
I just want to make sure that she's allowed to use that.
So yes, she would be.
Good. Another question I had was on toy vehicles. Defined as a scooter, roller skates, skateboard, sleds, or wagons. And then there's age limitations on there. 16 plus with Ohio valid driver's license. I'm not sure, is that because they go in the street? Or why would they have to have a driver's license to
So yes,
wear a pair of roller skates?
if we refine this, make all the repairs we need to do, but the contents basically as you have before you, this would prohibit the operation of toys in our streets. If you're a licensed Ohio operator, you would be permitted to operate a toy in the street. You're licensed to drive. And so that's where the other communities have drawn distinctions and tried to find the ways to regulate. So in Ohio, licensed driver with a valid license would be able to ride these devices in the street because they've got a driver's license. And it would prohibit those people that are less than 16 from having a toy in the street, to try to make it more easy for law enforcement to know that if there's a toy as defined in this, and that child's less than 16 and operating in the street, that's violating the code and they shouldn't be there. Which is really what gave way to this discussion to begin with, is the concern for young children in our streets on these devices. So this is really focused on trying to prohibit that. They would not be allowed to ride their toys in the street unless they had an Ohio driver's license.
And if I wanted to roller skate in the street, I would have to have a red tail light visible from 500
Well,
feet.
we've got to fix it a little bit. It's not easy to collect this from 88 counties and 200 plus municipalities, but we definitely have some work to do, but it has all the content there to refine.
Okay, thank you. Let me see if I had anything else.
But that does not pertain, like, kids can still roller skate and use their toys on the sidewalk.
Right.
This does not-
Now, the question
Right.
is,
Right.
what do we do in a neighborhood that has no sidewalks?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a few.
And kids play in the street. Kids
There's a
play
lot
in
of
the
people want to
street.
speak.
Are you done?
Well, I want to see what,
Okay.
So,
how that,
why don't we get comments?
Okay.
Claire,
you think about it, Mark.
Mr. Rollins.
Aaron Rollins, City Council at Large. Glad that we're finally having this conversation. I just want to make sure that we get some verbiage in this legislation, and I'm glad that the topic of sidewalks came up, because I don't believe that Class 2, Class 3, or low-speed micro-mobility devices should be allowed on sidewalks, frankly. I think it's a safety concern. I think if you've seen people, the difference between a bicycle and some of these e-bikes, the attention is different. It is different. I don't care what anybody sits up here and tells me, the attention is different. And some of these things are zooming down the sidewalk at 20 miles an hour, and they're almost impossible to hear if you're in a vehicle. I just want to make sure, I think this is great. I think requiring folks to have some type of driver's license, requiring them to be 16 is great. I think we should take it a step further and require those particular vehicles specifically to be on the street, not on the sidewalk. Thank you.
Thank you. And I share your concern.
I agree.
You know, I don't want my 6-year-old granddaughter roller skating down the sidewalk and get run over by a 20-mile-per-hour
Yeah.
electric bike.
Yeah.
Yes. Ms. Lubke.
Teresa Lubke, 555 Normandy Drive. Ironically, coincidentally, I don't know, my husband came up from walking the dogs just as I was getting in the car to drive here, and he's like, oh, almost got run over by a kid on a mini bike. And so in the Chateau area and probably other areas, there's issues with e-bikes on the street and on the sidewalk. And I agree with Mr. Rollins about the sidewalk, and not from a standpoint of a driver, but from a standpoint of a pedestrian. I'm on those sidewalks every single day, and the kids riding their e-bikes on them, they don't move over for pedestrians. They're coming at 20 miles an hour, and they don't belong on the sidewalk. So, and I didn't see that addressed anywhere at all. So I would say, you know, to take a look at that. The other thing that we see a lot of is what I called growing up mini bikes, right? So they're a motorcycle. They're a combustible engine, put gasoline in them, but they're tiny. And kids as young as 5 and 6 are riding them on the streets and on the sidewalk. Very dangerous, and they don't look. They cut across things. So I would assume that that particularly is already illegal, right?
I would think
That
so.
a 5-year-old can't ride a motorcycle on the sidewalk or the street. So that leads to the bigger question of, that's already not being enforced because it's happening all the time. So if you are gonna make legislation about e-bikes, think hard about how are you gonna let the public know that it exists and how are you gonna enforce it? And if you're not gonna enforce it, then don't have the, I think we need legislation, I think it needs to be enforced. But if it's not gonna be enforced, then don't bother with it.
I agree.
But the sidewalks are, to be honest, are my biggest concern as a pedestrian who's on them every day. I don't want all those bikes that are on the street now to get pushed onto the sidewalk and run into me or the other kids on the sidewalk.
I think those same kids come up to George Washington Elementary.
They're everywhere,
Because
sure.
when I'm walking the dog, almost every day, I almost get mowed down.
Yeah.
And as a note, if anybody hasn't been in Marion too long, when I was a kid, which was back in the 1960s, we had to have a license for our bicycle. We had to register it, and we got a little pamphlet on rules, and, you know, you were subject to the same laws as automobiles. You didn't get a bicycle license card, but you had a little license plate on your bicycle. So that's been around Marion for decades.
I'd like to ask a police representative to, I don't know if there's anything that they, as far as going out to schools or anything like that, in order to communicate better, you know, because everything's just so advanced more than when I was growing up. Exactly what was being said here. Is there anything that they go out and say?
I don't know what our SROs are teaching. I do know that we have tried to step up enforcement with the bikes, the 5- and 6-year-olds darting across the street, downtown area, the motorbikes. Those are all things that we have stepped up. I know we've had officers in the Chateau area as well as other parts who are actively doing their part, not only to stop the children or young adults and engage with the parents about why this is not allowed. We've even seized some of these devices. And then we've also had some of them we have to weigh the determination of when they hit somewhere off-road. It's not uncommon for them to take off from us. So then we have to weigh safety concerns. Is it worth pursuing the alleys, the high speeds over, you know, a 14-year-old kid on a bike? So we are actively out trying to enforce the motor vehicle laws. It is just very difficult to catch them on a car when they're darting in and out. We do our best. I mean, but we have made it a priority. We've asked our guys to make it a priority, and I have seen it where they are making it a priority to do their best to enforce what laws that we do have and can enforce.
Anything else? I have a question at the bottom of page 2, talking about the person who's operating a Class 1 electric bicycle or Class 2 electric bicycle, and the person is 14 or 15. They have to have a valid probationary. Am I to understand that's a minimum age, and anybody under that age should not be operating at all?
You said the end of page 1?
Page 2.
End of page 2?
Yeah, it's 373.13, item 1. And I know that's in the code too, the Ohio code. I'm just clarification for myself, is that a minimum age and anybody under that shouldn't be on one at all?
Yes. So that establishes a minimum threshold as far as age so that it can be uniformly applied and just based on age, nothing more. And it's also making the provision for the fact that we get temporary licenses in their period of time. Now, I don't know how that works, because you get a temporary license, you have to have a licensed driver with you. I don't know how that works on a single-seat bike, but
Yeah, because you're not allowed to carry a
I don't know
passenger.
that. But I also want to mention, many communities control the sidewalks. And the only control they really have is limiting the speed of the device on the sidewalk. So you'll see many communities that want to control the sidewalks, say the device can't go faster than 10 miles an hour. That's usually how they try to control sidewalks and what's on them. So that's one thing to think about as we move forward and refine these controls to see what works best in our community, is whether or not we want to, allow for them to be operated on the sidewalk so long as that device cannot go over 10 miles an hour. And your question was about the neighborhoods without sidewalks?
Right.
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
Okay, let me see here. If I got anything more.
You got a podium person.
Oh,
If you don't mind,
Mr.
I
Smith.
had my hand up there for a while.
Oh, sorry.
Thad Smith, 5th Ward City Council. I just actually wanted some clarification. So allowing class 1, 2, and 3, or are we not allowing class 3 based on this legislation?
It's my understanding we're allowing all three.
Yeah, a class 3 would be able to operate on the street up to 28 miles an hour.
Okay, just because what I'm reading down here in on the second page at the very bottom, the person is operating a class 1 electric bike or a class 2 electric bike, and then it goes on to say other things. But it doesn't say anything about.
Or class 3, yeah.
So, I wasn't sure if that needed to be amended to add that.
On the next page. To the middle of the next.
And that,
Yes.
right there, it's on number 5.
Item 5, we should add it to this.
Yeah, item 5 is an additional control, so now we're in the ordinance portion that provides the regulation or control portion. In essence, to answer your question, Mr. Smith, a person licensed to drive in Ohio could ride a class 3 on our streets. They already have a driver's license. They could be driving a car, if they had a motorcycle endorsement, they could be driving a motorcycle. But with a driver's license, this would allow a 16-year-old license to drive, to operate the class 3 on the streets.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm certainly not against, keeping these e-bikes off the sidewalks at all. Quite frankly, if someone has a quality bike and they're adult, most likely they're not wanting to ride on the sidewalk. So what you're encountering is children riding them.
Yeah.
The sidewalk would probably be the safest place for them, but it also sounds like most people don't want them on the e-bikes at all as it sits. This may end up causing some problems, especially with some people who've already purchased bikes for their children to ride. But we'll have to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mayor?
I'm really married at 90 Denver Street. I don't have a sidewalk on and my stepson has his little device and he rides it in our yard, his mom's yard, his grandma's yard. But every once in a while, he crosses over the street and goes to this other property that his grandma owns. Is he allowed to do that?
So actually, there's a provision in here. I know it's a lot. It's 4 pages, and it's not really in a finished format. But there is an area that talks about being able to cross that street at a crosswalk to get to the other side.
Yeah, because that's why I was like, because he has something. There is no sidewalk. Because he tries to get in the street and we tell him to get out of the street, but he's a kid too, and he doesn't listen. But he generally rides it in the grass. But that's one of the things I wondered if he was technically allowed to even cross the street.
He can at the intersection, at the proper, where a motor vehicle operator would expect to see a person crossing the street at an intersection where there's a crosswalk. That's what this says is the area that he could cross the street.
All right, so what about like those little, like, those little things that's not even got handlebars and because we don't have a sidewalk? There's a lot of
Mini mobility devices. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, like, is anybody in our neighborhood gonna get in trouble for those, I don't even know what they call them, those hover things?
It's like a skateboard, but it's only,
We don't have a sidewalk. That's what I'm saying, I'm like, gas people are in our neighborhood, they're probably gonna put one, but.
Is that considered a toy then?
I just didn't know. That was my question, if he was allowed to technically even cross the street.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's really what type of control do we believe is best for our community? And what this really says is, because a lot of people have said it over the last year, is we don't want children less than 16-year-old riding the kind of device you're talking about in our streets.
Right.
It's too dangerous. So to answer your question, he or she, the child, would have to ride it on private property, driveway, or parking lot, anywhere but the street.
There was a kid by the Jersey, and I was coming out of my area. Anyway, he's a known kid that he rides a bike a lot, but now today I seen him on an electrical bike, and I hadn't hit my brake, and because he went and tried to do this and everything to carry over onto Wilson, because he was on Wilson, wasn't stopping, and I've already ran into issues at that very intersection. But so yeah, I'm like, we got a lot of people that are on these electric bikes, and they're gonna have them out there, so I'm like, I feel for y'all with trying to keep them in line with that, but I just
Well,
wondered if there was something.
I think another thing is, know what you have, this is how you can operate it. That's just communicate, and even at point of sale or whatever, that's the main thing.
No
Yeah.
different than like fireworks, when we walk
Exactly.
fireworks and stuff, we're allowed
Yeah.
to do things at certain intersections.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Kelly.
Sulu Kelly, 365 East Farming. I have a number of little comments. Years ago when I worked in Caledonia, people would ride their riding lawnmower on the streets. And it was my understanding then that they had to have their learner's permit, so they were familiar with the laws of the road. So that's why that kind of restriction's there. I have a grade kid that has a bike, and I'm not sure he should be on the road with it, but I'm not his parent. Handicap scooters, I used to work on them for a company, and the fastest I've ever saw a handicap scooter designated to be able to go was 8 miles an hour, and that was one special one. All the others are limited to about 4 or 3.8 or something like that, so you can use that as some of your guidelines for it. My suggestion, if there's no sidewalk, maybe designate 5 foot on the side of the road of pavement, from the edge of the pavement, 5 foot, just to keep them out of the main flow of traffic. I think you also should have a regulation that they're not allowed to operate on private property without permission, because you're gonna have problems where they, right, to get away from you. And if we could, that's, to me, it's just no nonsense, it should be done. That way, if there's another officer around the corner, you got him for that and everything else too. What about out-of-state license? Keep saying Ohio license.
So the United States, there's a compact between all the states.
Right.
We recognize the licenses of other states, and they recognize our Ohio licenses as we travel through them. So there's
But
a
you always
compact.
say Ohio license. You've been saying Ohio license.
Because I live in Ohio, you live in Ohio, but in addition, there's a compact. And the
Okay.
other states recognize us, and we're
Right.
driving through, and vice versa, we have to recognize their citizens.
I would also like to see a clear face mask regulation. I have seen somebody riding down the street to my area, they have a very dark face mask, so you can't see their face, so you can't identify them. And I think they probably should have a face mask on, or sunglasses or something like that, because of bugs hitting them in the face, but I think it should be clear, so that we can see who it is. Or a police officer might be able to see who it is, so if they can't catch him now, they know who it is. And lastly, insurance and liability. Are you going to at least designate it that the parents are responsible for the liability of any accident?
So, if I may, to respond to your question, we don't, that's going to be covered by other laws that exist in regards to liability.
Okay.
We wouldn't be placing liability placement in this type of code ordinance. So that's going to be controlled by existing laws as far as
Okay.
that.
All right, very good. Thank you.
And the other thing that I had, you were talking about the helmet or the face mask. The ordinance and the Ohio Revised Code does cover helmets, which I assume would have a face mask on them. But it has to be a fitted helmet to that individual and not some 6-year-old kid wearing an adult-sized helmet. So, but yeah, I think that would be covered under that, so that's something to
Well,
look at too.
This one person has this animal-type face on their face mask, so you can't see who it is. But if, I'm thinking if it was clear, you would have a chance to see who it was, and then identify later on that it was them.
Good suggestion.
And they seem to favor that hidden face concept, if you will, so they can get away with zipping around. Oh, and the other thing was obey all traffic control devices, stop signs, and the like should be part of that there.
I was going to add to that, we've got certain areas that have just painted on the pavement, bike lanes, for example.
yeah, that's
And- Yeah, and that would be, for areas for clarity and so
But there's
forth.
usually the areas that don't have sidewalks, don't have bike
Bike
lanes.
lanes, right.
So,
Thank you.
thank you for letting me speak one once tonight.
Mr. Barr?
John Barr, First Ward, City Council. Tough issue. This is not going to be fun, but I commend the administration and council. We have to do something about it. I agree. I think the e-bike should be on the road. And I'm just curious if there's any consideration so the dirt bikes are more and more, right? We're seeing more and more of them. Is there any consideration to the backside of Sawyer Ludwig Park, the backside of Harding High School, to creating spaces for these kids to enjoy these toys they have? Obviously there have to be disclaimers, at your own risk and this and that, but is that an option? Is that something we can consider to give these young people who have these toys a safe place to go do it that's not out in the traffic? I was hoping maybe we could at least brainstorm that option also.
Well, that works as long as mom or dad are willing to drive them to the location.
That's another issue, I know, unless they got trucks and trailers.
Yeah, very good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments on this? I had a couple of things here, just housekeeping items here. On the second page, 373.135, we have section A, and then we have 1, 2, and 4. Was there a section 3, and if so, what happened to it?
Trying to catch up with you now.
It says
Oh, yeah, there's a missing
G.
three.
There's
Yeah,
missing
and then right below that, you have a section C.
with a.
C, D, E.
So the B and the C just didn't match up. There is a missing 3, and that's just clerical drafting, it's very rough.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just a lot of cut and paste. I did read it a number of times, but it's still very rough, and it's not in finished form.
Okay. I didn't think, well, no, appreciate that. Anyone else have anything on this? Wishes of the committee?
So leave it in committee.
committee.
Leave this as a first reading
First
committee.
reading. Okay, we are now up to matters not on the agenda. Does anyone have anything to bring before the committee for legislation codes? Hearing none, we're adjourned, 7:27 PM.
Thank you for sharing.
You gonna keep your seat?
Yeah, I just don't go anywhere tonight. I'm here for the duration. Yeah, Mark, that ordinance just kind of hurt when I read it. Like,
It was painful cutting and pasting.
One for each of you. You guys ready?
All right, good evening, everybody. It's 7:28. We will call Municipal Services, Park and Rec to order. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mr. T. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Here.
Ms. Larkin?
Here. Looks like we've got some summary proceedings. Has the committee had a chance to look over those?
Let's see, I don't think I had any corrections.
They seemed pretty good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Entertaining a motion.
Move that we accept the minutes.
Second. Please take the roll, clerk.
Mr. T. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Larkin?
Yes. Okay, new business, transit rate increase discussion. I know it's been a little while since we've had an increase in transit, and with the price of fuel, I'm sure it's needed. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Councilman Smith. This goes a lot further than just diesel fuel. We've been talking about this issue really for over a year now, and it is accurate that we haven't increased our transit fares for over 15 years. So my hope is that we are going to make effective a rate increase as of July 1st of 2026. Marion Transit currently provide, I know this is going to be mind-boggling for a lot of people because you don't really realize until you see it on paper. They provide over 87,000 rides a year, including 21,000 plus rides for the elderly and disabled riders, along with thousands more for children, students, veterans, and MRDD riders. The system receives approximately, this is averaged out over like 4 or 5 year period, it receives approximately $735,000 annually in grants and fare income, with the remaining funding coming from the city's general fund to meet the $1.2 million annual operating budget. And that's also an averaged out price over 4 or 5 years. And if we all remember when we started talking, when we became, when we entered fiscal caution, there were 13 funds that were negative fund balances. Transit was one of those funds at a cost of about $700 and some thousand in the red coming out of that. The service has operated for more than 15 years without a fare increase, despite significant rises in operating costs such as fuel, and as you mentioned, diesel being over $6 a gallon now. Wages, insurance, maintenance, and benefits. All of those things, we've continued to keep the fare price at the same level for 15 years and then just increased the amount that we were taking from the general fund, causing that negative fund balance. We can no longer provide this service at the same cost we did 15 years ago. To maintain operations and reduce pressure on the general fund, Marion Transit proposes fare increase aligned with the lower end of comparable systems in Central Ohio. The increase is projected to generate over $60,000 in additional annual revenue and is included in the City of Marion Financial Recovery Plan that was submitted to the state auditor on April 6th. We wholeheartedly acknowledge the potential impact that this might have on riders, but emphasize that the fares were kept as low as possible to have the least impact on the community. And to explain that a little bit, on the back page of that it shows what our current pricing is and what the proposed pricing is. So none of these price increases are, to me, out of an exorbitant amount that we're just, we threw a dart at a dartboard and tried to come up with an amount. Over the last year, when we first thought about the fare increase, and most recently, we checked with a lot of the other surrounding areas. And $2, about the minimum rate you will see in our area, going all the way up to $4.50 or $5, depending on where you're at. I think up in Bowling Green, Ohio, it's like $4.50 a ride. They got a lot of college kids there, probably generate a lot more income. So we have the standard fare, we're looking at raising from $1.25 to $2. And we're keeping all the senior, disabled, and the child rates the same discount that they would have been prior to the increase. So a $2 fare will be a $1 fare for senior and disabled. Our on-demand service, which is really just like a Uber ride, it's door to door where you call ahead and schedule a ride, is $2.50 currently and going up to $4 and $2 each for seniors and disabled. And then you will see the other where we charge the on-demand fare for 2 to 3 miles from the center of the city, 4 miles from the center of the city, and 5 miles from the center of the city. Our monthly passes will increase from $30 currently to $42 for a monthly pass. That lets you ride anywhere you want, as many times as you want within the city limits of the city. And the senior and disabled pricing on that would be $21. So as I stated, this did not come without a need and necessity. I mean, we are in trying times right now. We all know that financially the city is strapped. I can assure you that the budget that we use for transit right now, going into this year, we had already cut to the bare minimum that we could cut at the transit system. So we really can't go any lower than where we're at now. And we have to bear in mind, if we don't do something, the possibility you could go up without transit at all. I mean, if the state should happen to take us to an emergency status, they could tell us to do away with transit because it costs too much money. So we're trying to play defense and keep those kind of things from happening. And the best way that we could see that happening is to do what we can to modestly increase our fares and put this 60,000, that would be less of a strain on the general fund dollars, and keep transit operating as it does now because so many people depend on it. So having been down to transit many times and talking to the people outside waiting and talking to our bus drivers, everybody knew that there should be an increase coming. So nobody's going to be surprised about this. And we have to give 30-day notice. We have to have a public hearing 30 days prior to an increase. So tonight is the first step in that process. And that is what we as an administration intend to do, is present this increase. So I wanted to bring it up at council. I wanted to bring it up at committee. Certainly there will be discussion on it, there's no doubt. But like I said, we've done our homework. We're still at the very low end of any surrounding county around us. And we don't have the money like Delaware. You know, there's a few transit systems that operate for free. That would be great if we could do that. And luckily we get, through our grant, we get $700 and some thousand to put toward the program. So the rest of that is up to us to make up in revenue, either in fares or through the general fund. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Well, I will say I've spoken to several of the people that work over at Transit, and they've all mentioned that they weren't real sure why rates hadn't been raised in so long. They felt that a raise was much needed, at least two of the people that I spoke to. None of these increases seem outrageous in my opinion. We'll see what the rest of the committee says, but we certainly appreciate you filling us in on this change. Thank you. Anybody from the committee have anything else to add or ask?
I hate it, but I think it's necessary.
I guess I will ask.
A lot of the things I'm doing, Danny, aren't really popular, but I think they're necessary to keep us moving in the right direction.
I will ask, the senior and disabled pricing, is there a way to add veteran into that, or is that typical?
Veteran is,
Okay.
yeah, it is included in that.
All right, thank you.
It's just not listed on there, but it's one of the discounted rates.
Student, senior, disabled, veterans.
And a lot of the passes, when I'm talking about the passes, a lot of the places like Buckeye Community School, Job and Family Services buy passes that they give out to people. So that's what those generally are purchased for. And it has like 20 rides and a booklet, and that gives people the ability to get to doctor's appointments, jobs, or whatever they might need to get to.
Okay, for sure. Please, Mr. Rollins.
Marion, City Council at Large. Just general question, where do we currently stand with the evening and nighttime bus? Is that still operational?
No.
I would hope,
Go ahead.
yeah, I just hope that with the increased fees, that we can increase some services. We've heard from a lot of residents, even here at council meetings, that have expressed gratitude for that evening and nighttime bus routes. I hope that with increased fees, we can return that to some increased service. That's all.
And we're always looking for any grant opportunities that might allow us to do that, mobility grants and that kind of thing. And I'm not going to quit prodding the county commissioners to help us out a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, we provide this service and
Yeah.
we go out, you know, you can see our mileage, we go out into the county very
Yeah.
well and go out to Meyer and all of those places. So this is something that's benefiting all of the people of Marion County, not just the city folks. So there's always, you know, I'm gonna keep pushing that button and see where we can get on that.
Are we short-staffed over at Transit at all?
We
or
are, I think we're short 2. maybe
Is that the
2
reason why
drivers.
we're not running the nighttime bus?
No,
Or
the
lack of-
nighttime service, it just wasn't cost effective. I mean, we were paying a person to run that service, and some nights we were getting 4 or 5 riders, other nights we would get 15. And we had a lady in council that came up and you know, I'm the guy that she's thanking for providing the nighttime service so she could get to work, knowing that I'm gonna have to do away with it probably 2 weeks after she was here, because it just wasn't cost effective.
Yeah. Is there a way to do an on-demand nighttime service?
You still have to have a driver. So
Right.
that was our main expense for that nighttime service, was paying the personnel to operate that.
Please, Mr. Rollins.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on an item second time.
You were up here before?
I was, yeah. That's actually a little disheartening. I think, I'm gonna have to go back and look at the record, but I think there was even legislation that went through council that said we wanted that to be part of the budget, because there were so many people that were in support of the evening and nighttime bus route. So it's unfortunate, one, I guess that we as council didn't know that, it sounds like. So I just want to express that's disappointing. And 2, I think we should go back and look at the record, because I'm pretty sure that we specifically asked for that to be included in the budget. Thanks.
But I think, going back to that, as I remember it also, it was, I think it was suggested that the administration would not be allowed to raise bus fares unless council approved it. But that never actually went any further than discussion that night. It never went into ordinance form. But I felt it was important to come to council and at least tell them what my intent is to do. And then if they decide to pass some kind of legislation to prevent me from raising prices, then that's certainly up to council to do that.
Well, I don't see any reason that council as a whole, I mean, we're just the committee, but should stop you from raising the prices. I think it needs to be done. But I do think that we would like to see an evening service, but it's going to take the work of everybody to get that back up and running, it sounds like. So we'll have to look into that. Anything else from the committee? Anything else from the audience? Anybody? Okay. We'll move on to matters not on the agenda then. Does anybody have anything to bring before us today? No? Okay, we are adjourned, 7:42.
Have you been there all night?
Yeah, I'm on every committee. I'm just not moving.
I didn't just realize that.
So I can keep an eye on him and keep him out of trouble.
He kicks me under the table if I get out of control.
It's just an updated one for the
Okay.
I guess it's item number 6, item number 6.
Okay.
This group.
Questions you ask? Thank you.
All right, it is 7:44. We will call to order Finance Committee for May 18th. Clerk, could you please take roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Present.
Mr. Arschmidt?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Sure.
All right, looks like we do have some minutes from the meeting on May the 4th. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those.
I didn't see any discrepancies.
I did not either. I'll make a motion, we accept those.
I'll second.
Clerk, I have a motion to accept the minutes as submitted and a second. Could you please take roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Arschmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
All right, that will become permanent record, and we will move on to item number 1 of old business. Be looking to the auditor's office and the treasurer's office for an update on audits, and where are we at in the reconciliation process?
Audits are still held up. They're waiting for the reconciliation to be complete for 22, and that 22 is still being worked on. In the meantime, of course, the audit firm has indicated to us that it's a busy time of the year for them. And so if the reconciliation is not done in right time, it may not get done till maybe July or so, July or August.
What is that deadline
What is the deadline for?
for having the reconciliation to the state, to continue that process? So, did they give us a hard deadline, like if we don't get it to you by this date?
No, that has not been established. They're pushing us to get it done. We are struggling to get it done. The gentleman who was helping us as a third-party outside contractor, he's having, again, another bout of health issues. So that's, a setback.
Okay.
We're in contact with them. So there's still a lot of moving parts with, no end in sight right now, but everybody is doing their part. There's nothing more we can.
Honestly, I'll speak for the committee first and just say I hope everything's going all right with his health, but do we need to look for another option? Because I believe, wasn't this originally supposed to be done by the end of March?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Immediately
So,
after he took
we're-
up the task, he was hospitalized and stuff for at least.
Yeah, and
I understand what you're saying.
personal circumstances are personal circumstances. I sympathize, but
We all have the same.
we also have an audit that we need to get over the finish line here, so.
Absolutely,
Do
absolutely.
we need to look at other options?
So, we just talked about that today, actually. We have a senior staff meeting every Monday at 10, where we meet with the auditor and the budget director and the safety service director and the law director when we need him to be there. We discussed that very thing. Like I said, we can't catch a break, so he was going in for a minor thing again, and I said, well, I hope everything goes well this time, and it didn't.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's an unfortunate thing, but we will have a review with him again on Thursday.
Okay.
And he was getting close to
Yeah.
being done, so we'll see where he's at.
Okay.
But we do have a backup. We have the other contractor that we talked about back then on maybe having him do that, so we can always fall back on that
Okay.
if we need to. But we're about at that point where we're gonna have to do something. I mean, I understand, you
Yeah.
try to be understanding of somebody's health issues.
Sure.
But again, we have to get it done.
Yeah, we absolutely.
And it's certainly not moving as fast as we would like it to.
And the CPA firm has already said that they cannot certify that until July, maybe, even after we submit it
Okay.
in June.
Yeah.
There is still a delay there.
So time is of the essence. Sorry. Any questions from committee on item 1?
No, you covered what I had.
All right, item number 2, penalties and appeals. I guess same offices. Any updates on penalties and appeals? I do have one question. Go ahead, please.
None that I've received or seen,
Okay.
as far as the responses.
I don't know that you were at the last committee meeting. Understood that there was some late bills that went out late. Have we seen any late fees or penalties as a result of that?
There was some early in the year, but nothing recent.
Okay. Questions from committee on that?
I thought we were told that because of an illness, that's the reason the payments were late. I thought that was recent. That wasn't.
Oh, this is the contributions you were talking about?
No, I think Mr. Watts said was sick or something, and he didn't get some bills paid, and I thought that was just within the last month or two.
That's what I thought
I
as well.
don't know about, I haven't seen any fees on that. It was late filings, but
Okay.
I haven't seen any report that says there's a penalty or fees on it.
And then just one other question in regard to IRS fees and penalties. Before the previous auditor had left office, one of the things that we had been requesting was an account summary that kind of outlined where all of the previous fines, penalties, and stuff were assessed to previous penalties. She had a really messy spreadsheet. I don't know if you've seen it or if that's been turned over to you, but that's what she gave the council as kind of the explanation at the time. We had asked, because it was, I still can't make heads or tails of it, to be honest with you. I know one of the things that she was asking for was a specific transcript from the IRS. Do we know, have we ever received that transcript, and has anyone done anything with
I haven't
that
dug
detail?
into that a whole lot because we're busy fixing things and catching up. It's
So-
something I can work with Martin to see if we can create anything.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if you like, I can provide her with the last updated copy I got from the previous auditor.
Yeah, it'd be,
That might prevent them from trying to reinvent the wheel.
Thank
I
you.
don't think anyone would reinvent that wheel, but,
It's not a wheel, you weren't.
no, it's also not, yeah, it's like a square wheel. Any questions or comments from committee on that one?
No.
Questions or comments from anyone in attendance tonight on penalties and appeals? Sir?
Sean Bott, First Ward City Council. I'm just curious when you say, it's Mr. Vetter, right? That our third party, how far along is he with the 22 audit? Are all the smaller funds done? Is he just trying to finish up the general fund? Where
It seems like to me
specifically are we?
he has done a lot of the items he has found and organized his work to come to an end, from what he said the last time.
And am I right in understanding that he found a few issues that they had?
That he was
that
able
you
to
all had
correct,
write
some
a
he
new
was able to
script
correct. Yeah,
Be able to dial back in. So he is near the end of 22
He's near the
then.
end.
And we're anticipating, once that is done and those scripts are put in place, that 23 will be,
we will take on
Presumably quicker.
23, and the CPA firm will take on certification of that, validation.
Just keep in mind, we will have to reconcile all those months as well, so it's
Yeah.
not, it will be a process each time. So. Any other questions? All right, we will move on to new business. Item number 3, formula grant. Clerk, could you please read?
Ordinance making additional appropriations in the formula fund for the year ending December 31st, 2026.
All right, this comes to us from regional planning. I do not see anyone from regional planning here, but I do believe we were credited all of the grants that we applied for, correct?
This would be for, this is the CDBG grant.
Correct.
Community Development Block Grant, and the two that were funded was the roof for the rec center and the HVAC for Leapin Ministries. And this is just moving along that process to make appropriations once the money is received.
Great. Is there any questions from committee?
No.
Any questions from the audience? If not, I will make a motion to send this on to council with a recommendation to approve.
I'll second that.
Clerk, could you please take roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes?
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Moving on to item number 4, rec center donation.
An ordinance to authorize the Safety Service Director to apply for and administer Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, BRIC grant through the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and declaring an emergency.
All right. So this also comes to us from the Office of Budget and Management.
This is
Ms.
actually
Brianna.
from me, the name
Oh.
was wrong.
Okay, go ahead.
Also, it has nothing to do with the rec center, I'm not sure why that was the.
I'm not sure, I was trying to figure
Yeah.
out, I was even looking at
I'm not
like,
sure how that
I had the
happened.
wrong legislation.
No,
Okay.
you're good. So this is a grant through FEMA. We're using it to hopefully replace 5 of the severe weather sirens. We have gotten quotes, we're pretty far into the process, hopefully once we pass this. There is a match, a 25% match, but we are going to use in-kind labor. Our electricians and some of our employees, they're going to take down the sirens that are there right now, and then they've talked to the contractor, and they're gonna help, they're gonna make sure they get to that number by helping do all the things that they need to do.
Are these a replacement in kind, or are these new, updated?
No, they'll be updated.
Okay.
Are just, to match the 25%, we don't have the funds obviously to match it, so it'll be us taking it down, will be our labor match.
Gotcha. Is it still gonna sound like the Purge?
I don't know, that's not a question for me, I guess. I can ask them that.
Yeah.
The 3 at the stations.
So yeah, it'll be Fire Station 1, 2, and 3, and then Euler and Virginia, and Thompson and Silver.
Okay.
And they'll be talking the new ones.
I think so, I mean, I haven't asked them that too far, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it says it on the quote.
Could I?
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Well, I know that one on Bell Fountain Avenue, Station 2, they can barely get the
Yeah.
first word out before it dies.
These sirens we have are really old and they're running out of parts to fix them. So
Yeah,
that's
we
why
love-
we're trying to come up with an alternative.
We looked at just applying to update some of them, but then once we had the technician come out and look, he said you probably really need to just replace them.
Okay. Any questions from committee? Any questions from the audience on this one? If not, I'm going to make a motion to send this on to council with a recommendation to approve as well.
I'll second.
Clerk, could you please take roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
All right, moving on to item number 5 tonight, Railroad Crossing Safety Program. Clerk, could you please read?
Ordinance to authorize the Safety Service Director to apply for and administer the Crossing Safety Program Grant through the Federal Railroad Administration and declaring an emergency, appropriating donated monies for the purpose of I didn't cut off what you should have.
Yeah, no appropriation.
We don't want any flowers.
And declaring an emergency.
There we go.
Yep, this one's for
Oh.
me as well.
Okay, never mind. Go ahead,
This
please.
is another grant. This one is for railroad monitoring systems at 8 of the railroads crossings in town. Those were picked by the fire chief. He said the ones that they get stuck at the most when going to calls. This one does have a 20% match as well, but we do have a private donor that is willing to fund the money for the match.
You're the chairman.
Yeah, could you just explain what a monitor is?
Yeah, so
I'm not-
it's a camera that it'll take a picture every 60 seconds, and dispatch will have access to it, so then when they go to a call, dispatch can tell them, you have to go an alternative route, and the public will have access to it as well. It's a website, I believe.
Got it.
Or an app.
App you can download, public can download, and they can see in live time what crossings are blocked.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah, that's be great.
Oh, let's move this
This is
thing along.
like, this is like a cheap man's version of an overpass, right? We know we'll never be able to afford an overpass
Yeah.
on Benton Avenue, but at least we'll know
Oh,
right when we send the squad or the fire truck out that it's blocked and they have to have an alternative.
oh, a little 6-pound, 8-ounce.
This
baby
is a
Jesus.
project that we've
is-
been trying to get funded since I started working with the fire chief, so.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, that's great. Questions? Anyone? Committee?
I'll make a recommendation to send to council.
I'll second.
3-0 to approve.
So,
So, yeah, it's the same.
Clerk, I have a first and a second. Could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
yes, most definitely. Right now, I'm relying on Tappets to let me know when Bell Fountain Avenue is closed. Shelley posts.
All right, we will move on to item number 6, criminal justice reimbursement funds. Clerk, could you please read?
Ordinance authorizing the auditor to accept reimbursement funds and appropriate the necessary funds from the Ohio Collaborative Law Enforcement Accreditation Program, OCLEAP grant, through the Office of Criminal Justice Services, OCJS.
This is a grant that we were awarded for the police department. It'll buy us security cameras for their packaging and evidence area and some storage cages. It's 100% funded. It's a little under $8,500.
Okay. Questions from committee? Questions from the audience? Sir, did you have a question?
So Kelly, 365, where are the cameras going
I have it.
generally?
So there's 3 cameras, one in the evidence packaging area, one in the West Sally Port, and one in the basement.
Okay, so they're all.
In the police department, yes.
Okay.
Not outside.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this matter? If not, I will make a motion to send this on to council with a recommendation to approve.
I'll second.
Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Arschman?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to item number 7, and I do have, I believe, some additional literature for you guys on this one. Clerk, could you please read?
Additional appropriations for the Commercial Building Code Department for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2026.
Do you have another one of these?
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. All right, this comes to us from the Office of Management and Budget. Mr. Troiano, do you have anything on this one?
This is just another standing item that you guys will probably see monthly or every other month. And in the spreadsheet that was provided to you just shows that we're not appropriating anything more than what's been brought in.
All right, any questions from committee?
Pretty cut and dry.
Pretty much. Recommend that we send this on to council.
I will second.
All right, clerk, I have a first and a second. Could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Arschman?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
All right, moving on to item number 8, insurance proceeds appropriation. Clerk, could you please read?
Ordinance making additional appropriations to the Insurance Proceeds Fund for the year ending December 31st, 2026.
All right, this also, I believe, comes to us from the Office of Management and Budget. Ms. Triano, do you have anything to add on this one?
This is, again, another standing item that I think we were doing quarterly last year. For those of you that are new to the Finance Committee, when there is a house fire or something like that, the insurance company sends us the money and we keep it until the inspector goes out to approve that everything's up to code. So this is just appropriating those funds that were received from that insurance money.
Any questions from committee?
None.
I will make a motion to send this on to council with a recommendation to approve.
I will second.
Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Arschman?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Oh, yes.
That brings us to matters not on the agenda. I have,
She's on. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one. I have the ordinance for you guys. If you want to, then thank you. This is the same project as the railroad monitors that we just talked about. It's for a different grant. It's the Safe Streets and Roads for All through the U.S. Department of Transportation. The deadline is May 26th, which is, we were waiting to bring it because we had to wait to hear back from the private donor. By the time we did, I did not count in Memorial Day, so I thought it would get passed on the 25th and submitted on the 26th. I don't need to upload an ordinance to submit it, and so after I realized on Memorial Day, I talked to the law director, and he said that we should just submit it as matters not on the agenda, just to make you guys aware that we're also applying for an additional grant for it. It's the same concept, same private donor. The amount is more because this grant is 5 years instead of the 1. But when we talked to the private donor, we did use this number. So it'll be no cost to us, just an additional chance for us to get funds for this.
but also for the crossings, correct?
Yes, it's the same exact project.
Okay.
Just a longer span, which is why the numbers are different.
Just one of them.
Yeah.
Got it.
We've been trying very hard to get this funded.
Okay. Additional questions from committee? Anything from the audience?
I'll make a motion to send it on to council crew.
Please, come forward.
Mayor, 890
A second.
Bearhart. So this is just a grant to extend it on, this additional one that we don't have on the paper?
It's two different grant programs. We just decided to apply for both of them to give us a better chance of getting the funds. This one wasn't able to be presented as the other ones were because it has to be submitted on the 26th, which is Tuesday next week, and council was pushed to Tuesday because of the holiday on the 25th. So if we waited for it to pass, we wouldn't be able to submit it in time, if that makes sense.
One is being submitted through the Federal Highway Administration, and the other is through the U.S. Department of Transportation.
So there's two different grants on?
Yes, two different grant applications, different programs.
And so who's the private donor that's matching?
So we're waiting to hear back to see if the Marion Community Foundation can, and if not, we have a private resident that said if they can't, they would donate the money.
And that person's name would be told who it would be?
I'm not going to disclose that. I don't even know that information.
Obviously, because you always disclose everybody that.
I do, if I had that information and they wanted to share that, I absolutely would, but I don't have that. They want to keep that private at
If
this point.
they want us to, we can. I'm just not sure right now if they want us to.
Well, I mean, if it's funding stuff to do with the city, I think it should be allowed to be just.
We're not to that point yet.
Okay, thanks.
Please.
Thad Smith, 5th Ward City Council. Just a question. What happens if you receive both of them or get both of them?
Then I would imagine you could use both to pay for the project, and then any unused funds would have to be paid back.
Yeah, we can always, if we get both of them, we can, I mean, I'd assume we would choose the one that's 5 years. We can talk to the other.
But the money has to go back if it.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, we would sit down and talk to them, and we would say there's other railroad crossings. We would ask if they're willing to fund those, and if not, yeah, we would just say, actually, we applied. And you have to disclose on the applications. Most federal applications ask if you're applying for other places, so they're aware that we're doing this.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Any other questions on this one? All right, clerk, I had a first, and I did offer the second, so if you would take the roll.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Oh, yes.
And that was to approve, correct?
Yes.
Correct. All right, we are now to matters not on the agenda. I have one item. This is the application for bond. Whoever that needs to go to. The auditor's auditor's office, perhaps. That is all I have for matters not on the agenda. Anything else from committee? Anything from administration for finance? Yes, sir.
So I think this could have been brought up earlier, but it's certainly a financial issue, so I chose to wait until Finance Committee to bring this up. A lot of people have been asking about our curbside recycling program and what we had talked about in our recovery plan and if that's ever going to happen. We have made a decision this week. We've been collecting the survey. The survey has stayed about 50-50. Some people want it for free down at the city garage. Other people say they would pay the $5 extra to Rumpke. I do not think that there's going to be enough profitability for Rumpke to do that. But certainly that doesn't hinge on our decision at the end of June. We are going to stop doing curbside recycling, but that gives us time to work with DKMM and get our bins set up down at the city garage. We had a conversation with Greg Mays down there today. Our pre-planning is that facility will be open from 11 to 7 daily for people to go down there, and maybe one Saturday a month. We're still working out those particulars, but we want people that feel very adamant about recycling to have a place to do that. It will be free of charge for them to do that, and we're going to keep it open until 7. So if they work during the day, we hope that covers people's ability to go down and do that. So right now, our intention moving forward today and our discussions with, and we're going to be able to keep those employees that worked in recycling, because we've had other jobs open up in the streets department or sanitation that we've held off on hiring anybody, knowing that this was in the hopper.
Yep.
So we don't look to lay anybody off.
Great.
You know, again, like I said earlier tonight, a lot of the decisions that I'm making surely aren't going to be popular with people, but this is almost $500,000 that we spend every year in curbside recycling.
Yep.
And we used to get paid to take our stuff to somebody to recycle. Now we pay them to take our stuff to recycle. So our intent moving forward from today is that at the end of June, we'll stop curbside, and we'll make sure that the public is well aware of this. We'll put out how it's going to work, how it's going to operate down there, and answer any questions that we can. So I just wanted to, I know that's been a hot topic for everybody. Everybody's been wondering about what's going on with that. We tried to wait as long as we could, but in order for us to see any realization of savings this year, we have to do it sometime. So July 1st looks like it will be our day to discontinue that.
Well, just speaking for the committee, thank you for your leadership in this. Leadership isn't fun and glamorous. These are the decisions that are critical for the city, so I appreciate your leadership there. Also appreciate that you've taken into account the need and the want for recycling for the community, and they're still going to have that availability and that option out at the garage. So, yeah, please.
Mr. Mayor, I've already had a couple of questions. What are people to do with their blue bins?
Those are all things that we're gonna make sure we get out to the public. Probably my off-the-cuff answer to that be, people will keep it. And if, an elderly person might only have to go down there once a month, so they can keep the bin and put their stuff in it and take it down once a month, and we'll have somebody there to get it out of the trunk for them if they need help with that. So that's, there's still a lot of those things to talk about and think through. What are we going to do with the trucks? I think we're not going to do anything drastic right away. We'll just hold on to them for now and see where this goes. And again, if Rumpke should surprise me and come back and say, Marion might be profitable, people would still have that option to do that.
Yep.
So, but I don't think they will. Just in the historic nature of what I've seen with our recycling, we get maybe 30% participation rate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other matters not on the agenda but that should come before finance? Yes.
Sean Barr, First Ward City Council. I just wanted to thank Ms. Brown and welcome her back. Obviously a week's absence, and it looks like you didn't skip a beat, so we appreciate that that you brought forward to us tonight.
I'm happy to be back.
Good.
Thank you. All right. Finance related? Come on forward.
Well, it's finance related. Kimberly Mayor, 890 Gephardt Street. We're getting towards the end of May. Have we decided what we're doing with the flock cameras and how we're paying for that?
I believe there's another committee that's taking care of the flock camera discussion. As far as finance committee, there is no appropriation here. I've heard of no grants coming through, so.
That was my question.
Yeah.
With the finance committee, you had grants?
Yep, none that I'm aware of.
It's actually a county issue because the county is the one that got the original grant and is going for the second grant. So.
But you guys are the one that signed off of it here? You guys never signed off on it here ever?
The cameras were installed before city council was made aware.
Oh, I know, I'm very
It was
aware.
the previous mayor,
Information off and
the
it's-
previous mayor approved it.
Yeah, I've
So.
sent information off, and he can't speak probably, but to the police and everybody for information on that, and Attorney General and everybody, Attorney General's responded to me.
Well, at this time, there's no appropriation that I've seen
That
for
was my
regarding
question.
flock cameras, grant or otherwise, so.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Any others? With that, we are adjourned.
Just shut the recorder off for you.